The dust rose in clouds as the stagecoach rattled to a stop in front of Whispering Creek's only hotel, bringing with it Olivia Lancaster's hopes and fears alike. Her hands trembled as she clutched her worn leather satchel, her future contained in a single letter promising marriage to a man she'd never met, Thomas Yates, cattle rancher of the Silverhorn Ranch. The year was 1875. And the Wyoming territory stretched before her like an endless sea of possibility. At 24, Olivia had left behind the whispers and pitying glances of Boston society. Such a shame, they'd said, not bothering to lower their voices. A woman who can't bear children is hardly a woman at all. The stagecoach driver helped her down, his weathered face kind beneath his hat brim. "Welcome to Whispering Creek, madam." Olivia smoothed her travel-worn skirts and took in the dusty Main Street. The town was smaller than she'd imagined: a general store, saloon, blacksmith, and a handful of other establishments lining the rutted dirt road. Nothing like the bustle of Boston, but perhaps that was for the best. Here, nobody knew her shame. "Excuse me, miss." A deep voice pulled her attention toward a tall figure approaching from the hitching post. "Miss Lancaster," Olivia's heart quickened. "Yes, I'm Olivia Lancaster." The man removed his hat, revealing sandy brown hair and eyes the color of summer skies. His face was tanned from hours in the sun, with fine lines at the corners of his eyes suggesting he smiled often. "Thomas Yates, madam. Welcome to Wyoming." He shifted awkwardly, clearly uncertain about the proper greeting for his mail-order bride. "Mr. Yates." Olivia offered her hand, which he took gently. "Everyone calls me Tucker," he said, releasing her hand. "Been expecting you. Had some business in town. Thought I'd meet your stage." His eyes were kind, appraising her without making her feel judged. "Got a wagon just over there. We can load your trunks." "I've just the two," Olivia said, gesturing to her luggage. Tucker signaled to the stagecoach driver, who began unloading her belongings. "Not much for a lady coming all the way from Boston." "I wanted a fresh start," she said simply. "The past doesn't fit in trunks." Something in her tone must have resonated with him, for he nodded slowly. "Reckon I understand that well enough." As they loaded her trunks onto his wagon, Olivia felt the stares of townsfolk. A mail-order bride was still news in a place like Whispering Creek. "Would you like to rest at the hotel tonight?" Tucker asked. "The ranch is a good 2 hours' ride from here." Olivia shook her head. "I've been traveling for days, Mr. Yates. If it's all the same to you, I'd prefer to reach our destination." Tucker smiled, the gesture transforming his face. "Our destination. I like the sound of that." The ride to Silverhorn Ranch gave Olivia time to study her future husband. Tucker Yates was not what she had expected. His letters had been straightforward and practical, explaining his need for a wife to help manage his growing ranch. He hadn't mentioned his broad shoulders or the gentle way he handled the horses, or how his voice had a musical quality when he spoke of the land he loved. "It's different from what you're used to," he said as they traveled, the wagon bouncing over the uneven trail. "Vast and wild. But there's a beauty to it that gets in your blood." Olivia watched the landscape unfold around them, rolling hills giving way to distant mountains, prairie grasses rippling like water in the breeze. "It's breathtaking," she admitted. "Why'd you answer my advertisement?" The question came without preamble, startling her. Olivia considered her response carefully. "My prospects in Boston were limited, and your letter spoke of building something meaningful. I thought perhaps we might suit. Limited prospects for a beautiful, educated woman." Tucker's gaze was searching. "Seems unlikely." Olivia looked away. "Not all limitations are visible, Mr. Yates." He didn't press further, and Olivia felt grateful. That conversation would come, but not yet. not when everything between them was as fragile as spun glass. The sun was beginning its descent when Tucker pointed ahead. There it is, Silverhorn Ranch. The main house was larger than Olivia had imagined, a two-story structure of timber and stone with a wide porch wrapping around the front. Several outbuildings clustered nearby, and beyond them stretched fenced pastures where cattle grazed. It wasn't grand by Boston standards, but there was something solid about it, something enduring. "You built this?" she asked, unable to hide her admiration. Tucker nodded. "Started with a one-room cabin 8 years ago. Added on as I could afford it." Pride colored his voice. "Been working on the second floor this past year, knowing you were coming." "It's wonderful," Olivia said honestly. As they drew closer, a figure emerged from the house, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked dark hair. "That's Mrs. Abernathy," Tucker explained. "Comes from town 3 days a week to cook and clean. Thought it might be easier for you, having another woman around at first." The consideration touched Olivia deeply. Mrs. Abernathy greeted them warmly. "So this is your bride. Welcome to Silverhorn, Mrs. Yates." Olivia flushed. "We're not married yet, Mrs. Abernathy. It's still Miss Lancaster." "For now," Tucker said, their eyes meeting briefly. "The preacher comes through town every other Sunday. If it suits you, we can be married then." 10 days, Olivia calculated. "Yes, that would be appropriate." "I've prepared the guest bedroom," Mrs. Abernathy said, understanding the situation immediately, "and supper's nearly ready." Tucker carried Olivia's trunks upstairs while Mrs. Abernathy showed her around the house. The interior was simple but comfortable, solid furniture, clean lines, practical touches. The kitchen was large and well-equipped, with windows overlooking a vegetable garden. "He's been preparing for months," Mrs. Abernathy confided. "New curtains, that fancy stove from back east, even ordered books he thought you might like." Olivia felt a tightening in her chest. How would this kind, thoughtful man react when she told him the truth? Supper was a quiet affair, with Mrs. Abernathy filling the silence with chatter about local families and the upcoming harvest festival. After the meal, she departed for her own home in town, leaving Olivia and Tucker alone. "Would you like to see the rest of the ranch tomorrow?" Tucker asked as they sat on the porch, the evening air cool around them. "Meet the hands, see the operation. I'd like that very much." Olivia's fingers twisted in her lap. "Mr. Yates, Tucker, there's something I need to tell you." His expression grew serious. "I'm listening." Olivia took a deep breath. "In my letters, I wasn't entirely forthcoming. There's a reason I left Boston, a reason no man there would have me." The words stuck in her throat. "Whatever it is, we can face it," Tucker said gently. "I cannot have children." The confession hung in the air between them. "I was ill as a young woman. The doctors were certain. No man wants a barren wife, and I understand if you wish to annul our arrangement." Tucker was silent for so long that Olivia was certain she'd be on the next stage coach back east. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "My advertisement asked for a partner, Miss Lancaster, someone to share this life with. Never mention children." "But surely you want a family," Olivia pressed, needing him to understand the full weight of her confession. Tucker leaned back in his chair, eyes on the darkening sky. "Had a wife once when I first came west. Sarah. Lost her and our baby during childbirth. Been alone 7 years now." His voice grew softer. "Figure I've had my chance at that particular dream." Olivia felt her heart break for him. "I'm so sorry." "Life out here teaches you something," Tucker continued. "Nothing's certain. The doctors told my ma she'd never have children after 3 miscarriages. Then along came me and my 2 brothers." He turned to face her, his expression earnest. "Not saying it'll happen, but I learned long ago not to bet against hope. And even if it don't, there are other ways to make a family." You're not. Disappointed. Tucker shook his head. Miss Lancaster, Olivia, I didn't send for a broodmare, I sent for a wife, someone to build a life with. His calloused hand reached for hers. If you still want that life, I'm offering it, children or no. Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes. Then miracles ride beside us, she whispered. Tucker smiled, a slow, genuine smile that reached his eyes. That they do, madam, that they do. The next morning, Olivia woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, disoriented by the silence, no clattering carriages or street vendors' calls, she wondered where she was. Then yesterday's events rushed back, and with them, a curious sense of lightness. Tucker knew her secret and hadn't sent her packing. She dressed in a practical skirt and shirtwaist, pinning her chestnut hair in a simple style. When she descended the stairs, she found Tucker in the kitchen, frying bacon. "Good morning," he said, looking up with a smile. "Hope you slept well." "I did, thank you." Olivia moved to help him, taking over the coffee preparation. "I didn't expect you to cook." "Been fending for myself a long time," Tucker replied. "Though I won't pretend I'm not looking forward to someone else handling the kitchen duties. My biscuits could break windows." Olivia laughed, the sound surprising her. When had she last laughed freely? "I'm a fair cook, though Boston fare might not suit ranch appetites. We're not picky. Hungry, but not picky." They worked together companionably, and Olivia found herself relaxing. Over breakfast, Tucker outlined the day ahead. "Thought I'd show you around the ranch, introduce you to the hands. Got 5 men working for me full-time, plus extra help during roundup and branding." "I'd like to see everything," Olivia said. "If I'm to be the mistress of Silverhorn, I should understand how it works." Tucker looked pleased by her interest. "Most of the hands live in the bunkhouse near the barn, but Ezra and his wife me have the small cabin by the creek. Me helps with the garden sometimes." After breakfast, they set out on horseback. Tucker had selected a gentle mare named Daisy for Olivia, and though it had been years since she'd ridden, her body remembered the rhythm. "You ride well," Tucker observed as they crossed a meadow. "My father kept horses," Olivia explained. Before his business failed, Tucker nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Must have been hard watching your circumstances change." "It was," Olivia admitted, "but perhaps necessary. I might never have found the courage to come west otherwise." They rode past grazing cattle, Tucker pointing out different breeds and explaining his breeding program. Olivia listened intently, asking questions that seemed to please him. "Most ladies wouldn't care about the difference between Herefords and Longhorns," he remarked. "Most ladies haven't agreed to marry a rancher," she countered. "Besides, it's fascinating. Each decision you make affects the entire operation. That's ranching. One decision ripples outward, affecting everything else." He glanced at her thoughtfully. "Like life, I suppose." At the creek that gave the town its name, they dismounted to let the horses drink. The water chattered over stones, clear and cold from mountain snowmelt. "It's beautiful here," Olivia said, breathing in the scent of sage and prairie grass. "Different beautiful than what you're used to," Tucker acknowledged. "Yes, but no less magnificent." She turned to him. "Thank you for showing me." Tucker's eyes held hers for a long moment. "Thank you for coming." Their tour continued to the bunkhouse, where Tucker introduced her to his ranch hands, weather-beaten men with respectful nods who called her "Madam" and eyed her curiously. Ezra, the foreman, was older than the others, with graying temples and shrewd eyes. "Mrs. Yates," he greeted her. "Not yet," Tucker corrected. "Wedding's next Sunday." "Miss Lancaster, then," Ezra amended. "Welcome to Silverhorn. The boys and I are mighty pleased Tucker's finally found himself a missus." "Thank you, Mr. Just Ezra, madam. We don't stand on ceremony much out here." They met me next, a practical woman with kind eyes who embraced Olivia without hesitation. "Lord, it'll be good having another woman around," she declared. "These men would live on beans and coffee if we let them." By midday, Olivia's head was spinning with new names and information. They returned to the house for a simple lunch, and Tucker suggested she rest afterward. "It's a lot to take in," he acknowledged, "and we've only just begun." But Olivia shook her head. "I'd rather keep going. There's so much to learn." Tucker's smile was approving. "All right then. Let's see what else needs doing." The remainder of the day passed in a whirlwind of activity. Tucker showed her the smokehouse, the tool shed, the chicken coop, and the vegetable garden. Everywhere they went, Olivia saw evidence of careful planning and hard work. "You've built something remarkable," she told him as the sun began to set. "Been a long road," Tucker admitted. "Still got plenty to do." Over supper, they discussed the wedding arrangements. "Nothing fancy," Tucker said. "Preacher'll come to the house. Could invite the hands, some folks from town if you like." "That sounds perfect." Olivia hesitated. "I have a wedding dress, my mother's. I brought it with me." Tucker's expression softened. "I'd be honored if you wore it." That night, alone in her room, Olivia wrote in her journal, trying to capture the whirlwind of emotions she felt. This place, this man, they were nothing like she'd imagined, yet somehow exactly what she needed. The days leading up to the wedding passed in a blur of activity. Olivia threw herself into learning the rhythms of ranch life, determined to be a true partner to Tucker. She studied his ledgers, organized the pantry, helped me with preserving summer vegetables, and even tried her hand at mending harnesses under Ezra's patient guidance. Tucker watched her with growing admiration, never complaining when she peppered him with questions about ranch operations or suggested improvements to the household management. "You're something else, Olivia Lancaster," he told her on their 6th evening as they sat on the porch watching the sunset. "Most city women would be crying to go home by now." "I'm not most women," she replied, then added softly, "and this already feels more like home than Boston ever did." Tucker reached for her hand, his touch warm and steady. "4 more days." Olivia nodded, a flutter of anticipation in her chest. 4 more days. On their wedding day, the house was transformed. Me and several women from town had decorated with wildflowers and ribbons, and the smell of roasting meat and baking pies filled the air. The ranch hands had scrubbed until they gleamed, awkward in their Sunday best. Upstairs, Olivia carefully donned her mother's wedding dress, a simple creation of ivory silk with delicate lace at the collar and cuffs. Me helped arrange her hair, weaving wildflowers through the braided crown. "You look beautiful," the older woman declared, blinking away tears. "Tucker's a lucky man." "I'm the lucky one," Olivia whispered. When she descended the stairs, the small gathering fell silent. Tucker stood at the foot of the staircase, dressed in a new black suit, his hair neatly combed. The look on his face when he saw her was everything Olivia could have hoped for. "Miss Lancaster," he breathed, offering his arm. "Mr. Yates," she replied, taking it. The ceremony was brief but heartfelt. Preacher William spoke of partnership and devotion, of building something greater together than either could alone. When Tucker slipped a simple gold band onto Olivia's finger, his mother's, he told her earlier his hands were steady, his eyes clear with certainty. "I now pronounce you man and wife," the preacher declared. "Tucker, you may kiss your bride." Tucker's kiss was gentle but firm, a promise sealed. When they turned to face their guests as Mr. and Mrs. Yates, Olivia felt a sense of rightness wash over her. The celebration lasted well into the evening, with music and dancing in the yard under lantern light. Tucker proved to be a surprisingly good dancer, guiding Olivia through reels and waltzes with easy confidence. Where did a rancher learn to dance like this? She asked, breathless from a lively tune. My ma insisted all her boys learn, he admitted with a grin. Said no son of hers would shame her at social gatherings. As the night deepened, guests began to depart, offering final congratulations. Me discreetly informed Olivia that she'd prepared the master bedroom and would return tomorrow afternoon to help with the cleaning up. Don't you worry about a thing until then, she insisted with a knowing smile. Finally, they were alone. A moment of shyness descended between them as they stood in the parlor, husband and wife in name but still strangers in so many ways. Would you like some tea? Tucker offered, clearly trying to ease the tension. Olivia smiled, touched by his consideration. That would be lovely. In the kitchen, they moved around each other, finding a rhythm as Tucker stoked the stove and Olivia prepared the tea tray. When they sat at the kitchen table, cups steaming between them, Tucker reached for her hand. I want you to know something, he said, his voice low and earnest. I'm not expecting. That is, we can take our time getting to know each other better before. Olivia squeezed his hand, deeply moved by his respect. Thank you, but Tucker, I am your wife now in all ways. His eyes darkened. Are you certain? I am, and she was. This man who had accepted her limitations without judgment, who had shown her nothing but kindness and respect, this was a man she could give herself to without reservation. Later, in the darkness of what was now their bedroom, Tucker's gentleness brought tears to her eyes. His hands and lips were reverent, learning her body with patient care. When they finally came together as husband and wife, Olivia felt a sense of completion she'd never expected to find. You all right? Tucker whispered afterward, holding her close against his chest. Olivia nodded against his shoulder. More than all right. As autumn painted the Wyoming landscape in golds and russets, Olivia settled into her role as Mrs. Yates. The ranch hands quickly grew accustomed to seeing her about the property, no longer staring when she joined Tucker for the morning rounds or sat beside him reviewing the accounts. Their evenings developed a comfortable patterned supper together, discussing the day's events, then sitting by the fire where Tucker might read aloud from one of his books while Olivia mended or worked on correspondence. Sometimes they simply talked, learning each other's histories in the warm firelight. Tucker spoke of his childhood in Missouri, his parents' hardscrabble farm, the restlessness that had driven him west at 18. He told her about his brief marriage to Sarah, the crushing grief of losing her and their unborn child, the years of solitude that followed. Olivia shared stories of her own, her sheltered upbringing, her father's financial ruin, the illness at 20 that had left her barren and diminished her marriage prospects in Boston society's eyes. The doctor was so clinical about it, she recalled one evening, her hand still on her needlework. As if he were diagnosing a faulty piece of machinery, not telling a young woman her dreams of motherhood were impossible. Tucker's hand found hers. Doctors don't know everything. Perhaps not, Olivia acknowledged, but I've accepted it, made peace with it. That takes courage, Tucker said, his admiration evident. As winter approached, bringing the first dusting of snow to the high country, their bond deepened. Tucker began teaching Olivia to shoot, insisting that every ranch wife should know how to defend herself if necessary. You've got a good eye, he praised when she hit the target 3 times in a row. I had no idea it would be so exhilarating, Olivia admitted, surprised by how much she enjoyed the feeling of power the small revolver gave her. Their physical relationship blossomed as well, initial shyness giving way to a passionate understanding of each other's bodies. Sometimes, Olivia caught Tucker watching her with such tenderness that it made her breath catch. What? She asked one such time, as she moved about their bedroom in her nightgown. "Just thinking how lucky I am," he replied simply. November brought the first real winter storm, howling winds driving snow against the windows. Tucker and the hands worked frantically to ensure the cattle had shelter and feed, often returning to the house with ice in their beards and exhaustion in their eyes. Olivia kept the stove burning, soup simmering, and coffee hot. When Tucker finally stumbled in after 3 days of battling the elements, she helped him remove his frozen clothes, bathed him in warm water, and held him as he slept the sleep of utter exhaustion. The storm passed, leaving behind a transformed landscape of pristine white. Looking out at the snow-covered pastures, Olivia felt a surge of pride in their resilience. They had faced the elements and prevailed. Christmas approached, bringing with it a festive spirit despite the isolation. Olivia decorated the house with pine boughs and red ribbons, baked gingerbread, and prepared small gifts for the ranch hands. For Tucker, she secretly worked on a new shirt, finer than any he owned, with careful stitching at the collar and cuffs. "Never had much of a Christmas before," Tucker confessed as they sat before the fire on Christmas Eve, a small tree glittering with candles in the corner. "Sarah died in December, so the season was just something to get through." "And now?" Olivia asked softly. Tucker's smile was warm as he pulled a package from behind his chair. "Now I have reason to celebrate." The package contained a beautiful leather-bound journal, its cover tooled with delicate flowers. "I noticed you writing in your old one," Tucker explained. "Thought you might like a new one." Olivia ran her fingers over the fine leather, deeply touched. "It's perfect, Tucker, thank you." She presented him with the shirt, watching anxiously as he unwrapped it. "You made this?" he asked, examining the neat stitching. "I did. Is it all right?" Tucker's answer was to pull her into his arms. "It's the finest gift I've ever received." That night, their lovemaking had a new dimension, a celebration of the life they were building together, a testament to the love growing between them. January brought bitter cold and the isolation of winter, but Olivia found she didn't mind. The ranch became a world unto itself, cocooned in snow and silence. She and Tucker established rhythms that carried them through the short days and long nights, reading, talking, playing checkers by the fire, finding comfort and pleasure in each other's bodies. By February, however, Olivia began experiencing strange symptoms: fatigue that dragged at her limbs, nausea that struck without warning, a peculiar tenderness in her breasts. At first, she dismissed it as winter malaise, but as the symptoms persisted, a wild, impossible hope began to form. She said nothing to Tucker, unwilling to raise hopes that would almost certainly be crushed. But when she missed her monthly courses for the second time, she could no longer deny the possibility. "I need to go into town," she told Tucker one morning. "We're running low on several things." "I'll take you," he offered immediately. Roads are clear enough now. In Whispering Creek, while Tucker handled business at the mercantile, Olivia slipped away to see Dr. Patterson, the town's elderly physician. The doctor's examination was thorough and his conclusion unequivocal. "Mrs. Yates, you're expecting a child. About 3 months along, I'd say." Olivia stared at him in disbelief. "That's impossible." "I was told doctors can be wrong," Dr. Patterson said kindly. "Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. Nature has her own ideas sometimes." Dazed, Olivia left the doctor's office, her mind whirling. A child. Tucker's child. The miracle she'd been told would never happen. Tucker was waiting by the wagon, his expression shifting to concern when he saw her face. "Olivia, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," she assured him quickly. I have something to tell you, but not here." The ride home seemed interminable. When they finally arrived at the ranch, Olivia asked Tucker to sit with her in the parlor. "You're scaring me," he said, taking her hands in his. Are you ill? Olivia shook her head, tears filling her eyes. No, Tucker, I'm with child. His face went blank with shock. With child. But you said, I know what I said, what the doctors told me. Olivia squeezed his hands, but they were wrong. Dr. Patterson confirmed it today. We're going to have a baby. Tucker's expression transformed, joy breaking across his features like sunrise. A baby, we're having a baby. Olivia nodded, her own happiness bubbling over. In about 6 months, according to Dr. Patterson. Tucker pulled her into his arms, his body shaking with emotion. When he drew back, she was startled to see tears on his cheeks. You once told me miracles ride beside us, he said, his voice thick. You were right, Olivia, more right than either of us knew. News of Olivia's pregnancy spread quickly through the ranch and into town. Mee was beside herself with excitement, already planning to knit blankets for the baby. The ranch hands offered awkward but sincere congratulations, their respect for Tucker clearly extending to his wife and unborn child. As spring arrived, turning the land green once more, Olivia's body changed with the season. Her slender frame rounded, her skin taking on a luminous quality that made Tucker stare at her in wonder. Never seen anything more beautiful, he told her one evening as she brushed her hair before bed, her nightgown stretched over her growing belly. Olivia smiled, setting down her brush. Even like this, ungainly as a cow. Tucker crossed to her, kneeling beside her chair to place his hand on her abdomen. Especially like this. You're carrying our miracle, Olivia. The baby kicked then, a strong movement against Tucker's palm. His eyes widened in delight. Did you feel that? Olivia laughed. How could I not? This child has your spirit, I think. Always in motion. As her pregnancy progressed, Olivia began preparing the nursery, converting the small room adjacent to their bedroom. Tucker built a cradle, working on it in the evenings, sanding the wood until it was satin smooth. My pa made cradles for all his grandchildren, he explained as he worked. Seemed right to carry on the tradition. They discussed names in the quiet of night, whispering possibilities to each other as they lay together. If it's a girl, Tucker said one such night, his hand resting protectively on Olivia's belly, I'd like to name her Hope. Hope, Olivia repeated, testing the sound. Yes, that feels right. And if it's a boy, Tucker asked. Olivia considered. What was your father's name, Samuel? Samuel Thomas Yates, she said thoughtfully. A good, strong name. Tucker kissed her temple. Perfect. Summer arrived, bringing scorching heat that made Olivia's last months of pregnancy challenging. Tucker insisted she rest during the hottest part of the day, often bringing her cool cloths and lemonade. You're fussing, she protested one afternoon as he arranged pillows behind her back. Damn right I am, he replied unapologetically. You and this baby are everything to me. In late July, as a thunderstorm rolled across the prairie, Olivia's labor began. Tucker sent one of the hands galloping for the midwife in town, while Mee helped Olivia walk the floor between contractions. You're doing fine, honey, Mee assured her. Women been doing this since Eve. The labor progressed steadily through the night, Tucker refusing to leave Olivia's side despite the midwife's suggestions that men were better off elsewhere during birthing. My place is here, he said firmly, supporting Olivia as another contraction gripped her. Dawn was breaking when the final stage began. Olivia's world narrowed to pain and effort, Tucker's voice her anchor as he whispered encouragement, wiped her brow and held her hands. One more push, the midwife urged as the sun crested the horizon. That's it, Mrs. Yates. One more. With a final, tremendous effort, Olivia felt the baby slip from her body, followed instantly by a thin, indignant cry. A girl, the midwife announced, quickly wrapping the infant in a clean cloth. A beautiful baby girl. Tucker's face was transformed with wonder as the midwife placed their daughter in Olivia's arms. The baby had a shock of dark hair and Tucker's blue eyes, her tiny features scrunched in concentration as she regarded her parents. "Hope," Olivia whispered, touching the perfect miniature fingers. "Our hope." Tucker sat on the edge of the bed, his arm around Olivia, gaze fixed on their daughter. "She's perfect," he said, voice breaking. "Just like her mother." "We did it," Olivia murmured, exhaustion and joy mingling. "They said it was impossible, but we did it." Tucker pressed his lips to her temple. "Miracles ride beside us," he reminded her, the words a promise fulfilled. In the years that followed, Silverhorn Ranch prospered under the Yates stewardship. Tucker expanded their holdings, building a reputation for fair dealings and quality stock. Olivia managed the household with efficiency and grace, keeping meticulous accounts and transforming the ranch house into a true home. Hope grew into a spirited child with her father's love of the land and her mother's quick mind. On her third birthday, she received her first pony, a gentle Shetland that Tucker led carefully around the yard while Olivia watched, her hands resting on her swollen abdomen. Their second miracle, Samuel, arrived in the winter of 1879, followed 2 years later by their daughter Emma. Each birth was celebrated as the blessing it was, each child a testament to the power of hope over certainty. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Tucker surprised Olivia with a trip to Denver, their first real journey away from the ranch since her arrival. As they sat in their hotel room after a night at the theater, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. "Did you ever imagine this?" she asked, gesturing to indicate not just the elegant room but the life they had built together. "That day when I stepped off the stagecoach, did you ever think we would have all this?" Tucker considered, his fingers laced with hers. "I hoped," he said finally. "That day, seeing you standing there so brave and determined, I hoped we might find happiness together. But this—" He shook his head in wonder. "This exceeds even my wildest dreams." "Mine too," Olivia admitted. "I came to Wyoming expecting compromise, not joy, a partnership, not a great love. And now," Olivia leaned into his embrace, "now I understand that miracles aren't just about babies or answered prayers. The real miracle was finding home." Tucker's arms tightened around her. "Silverhorn will always be there waiting for us," he murmured against her hair. "But you, Olivia, you are my home." Outside their window, the lights of Denver twinkled like stars brought to earth, but neither of them noticed. They had found in each other what most people search for their entire lives, a love that defied odds, overcame obstacles, and transformed the impossible into reality. In years to come, when their grandchildren gathered around the hearth at Silverhorn Ranch, they would tell the story of the mail-order bride and the rancher who refused to accept limitations, who chose hope over certainty, and who built a legacy of love that would endure long after they were gone. For Tucker and Olivia Yates, the greatest adventure hadn't been taming the wild Wyoming frontier. It had been opening their hearts to the possibility that miracles were not extraordinary events, but the everyday magic of two people choosing, again and again, to believe in each other. And in that belief, they had found their truest home,